Oh, you want to play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless victim?
Cross your eyes and scream, man. Scream for your life.
Welcome, Scream Queens, Kings, and Things. Whether you're screaming at movies or the real life stuff, I'm your host, Jenica Olin. This is my 67th episode, and my theme of the month is Eat the Rich. Eat the Rich horror is a subgenre of horror that critiques capitalism and class inequality by portraying the ultra wealthy as the enemy rather than treating the 1% as merely out of touch. These stories present elite privilege as a predatory force built on the exploitation, degradation, and literal destruction of the working class. And you know what? I agree with them. For my real world example, a Swiss hacktivist found a hidden directory and participant profiles in this site's code, exposing over 200 prominent names. Here's a little tidbit of what we know about billionaire Peter Thiel's secret Dialog society. A group called Dialog is a private invitation-only organization co-founded in 2006 by a billionaire tech investor, Peter Thiel. It has U.S. officials, foreign government figures, and Silicon Valley executives at the off-the-record annual retreats. Dialog has spent 2 decades declining to disclose its members. I wonder why. The data lays out a program of off-the-record sessions, including Money Does Buy Happiness, Bring Back Nuclear, Navigating World War III, Battlefield Technologies, and How's Your Sex Life? And other talks include Build a Cult, moderated by the founder of the Christian networking site Pray.com, and Build a Party, run by a former White House national security official. The organization also operated a highly private matchmaking service for its members, requiring them to submit intimate personal and political details. This is all what the leaked records reveal about Peter Thiel's secret society of elites. There's lots of information out there on it, so go look into it. It's basically The Hunt. Today, I'll be covering the 2020 film The Hunt, directed by Craig Zobel, written by Nick Kuss and Damon Lindelof, starring Betty Gilpin, Hilary Swank, and Ike Barinholtz. The estimated budget was $14 million. The tagline for this movie: the most talked about movie of the year is one that no one's actually seen. Some quick trivia about this film: the movie was pulled from its original September 2019 release date due to a mass shooting. It was rescheduled to March 13th, 2020. Unfortunately, the box office results were drastically affected by the global COVID-19 pandemic, as many theaters were forced to close. When Ma asks, "Will there be sugar after the rebellion?" this is a direct quote by Holly the horse from Animal Farm, written by George Orwell. The pig in the movie was treated as an equal on set, with it having full access to all catered meals. While Athena's shipwreck champagne, Hide-Seek, actually exists, the name also works as a play on words regarding the film's plot. Hide and seek. The names of most of the characters are never revealed. At best, there's only Crystal's nicknames for them, with an occasional contribution from other characters. Staten Island Dawn, Shut the Fuck Up Gary, Yoga Pants, Target Vanilla Ice, Big Red, Ma, Pop, the Doctor, Liberty, Dead Sexy, Randy, Flight Attendant, Not Stewardess, Kelly, Crisis Mike, Bandana Man, and Dino as a different name. Zobel and Lindelof have said that the film is intended as a satire on the profound political divide between the American left and right. It is about a group of elites who kidnap working class people to hunt them. Filming took place in New Orleans. The final fight was choreographed by 5 women. It's a pretty kick-ass scene. The film was partly inspired by The Most Dangerous Game, the 1924 short story by Richard Connell, later turned into the film of the same name, The Most Dangerous Game, 1932. Body count is 22. Randy, Yoga Pants, Bandana Man, Big Game Ken, Dead Sexy, Target, Big Red, Staten Island, Vanilla Ice, Pop Ma, Crisis Mike, all of them. And if you count Orwell the pig, it's 23. Poor Orwell. He wasn't innocent. Hilary Swank is seen from only her backside until the 63-minute mark. The champagne crystal drinks on the plane at the end of the film, Hide-Seek, is the same champagne that Richard inquires about at the beginning of the film on the plane. This was the champagne Athena bought for $250,000, a bottle from a sunken wreck. Before its release, the film drew heavy criticism from conservative commentators. The controversy culminated when President Trump tweeted criticism claiming the movie was engineered by liberal Hollywood to incite chaos. This is insane because it's literally making the liberals the issue. So the fact that conservatives were against this movie is insane. If you're new here, each episode will have an intro, brief synopsis of the movie, and an analysis of the film. Spoiler alert, I've made it my job to spoil the shit out of this movie.
Hello? Hey! What is happening? What is all of this?
Did you see that article? Every year, these liberal elites kidnap a bunch of normal folks like us and hunt us for sport.
The last I heard, free speech still exists.
Don't First Amendment me.
It wasn't real.
Everybody get out of here!
We were joking.
A group of strangers wakes in a remote clearing with no memory of how they got there. Each of them wears a metal gag locked around their mouth, and after freeing themselves, they discover a crate filled with weapons. Confused and terrified, they barely have time to process their situation before gunfire erupts from the surrounding woods. One by one, members of the group are cut down by snipers, landmines, and hidden traps. The survivors quickly realize they are being hunted. As they flee through the woods searching for safety, several of them discover a road and what appears to be a normal gas station. The station's elderly owners reassure them that they are in rural Arkansas, but something feels wrong. When the survivors attempt to contact authorities, they discover the gas station attendants are part of the hunt. A violent confrontation follows, leaving only a handful of the captives alive. Among them is Crystal Creasy, a quiet but highly observant woman who begins noticing inconsistencies in the hunter's story. A simple detail, the price of cigarettes, reveals that the gas station is fake. Investigating further, Crystal uncovers altered license plates and realizes they're not in Arkansas at all. They've been transferred overseas to Croatia. While the other survivors focus on escaping, Crystal begins fighting back. Using the hunter's own equipment against them, she evades surveillance drones, uncovers hidden traps, and systemically tracks down the people responsible for the deadly game. Along the way, she encounters Gary, a conspiracy theorist who believes they have become victims of Manorgate, an online theory claiming that wealthy elites secretly kidnap and hunt ordinary people for sport. As Crystal pushes deeper into the operation, she learns that the conspiracy is connected to a group of wealthy, influential individuals whose lives were destroyed after private messages about hunting deplorables were leaked online. What began as an offensive joke spiraled into a public scandal that cost them careers, reputations, and social standing. Seeking revenge, the group decided to turn the conspiracy theory into reality. The people they abducted were not chosen at random. They were selected because the hunters believed they had contributed to spreading the rumor that ruined their lives. Now hidden from public view, the elites have created a deadly game where they can punish those they blame. Crystal survives every encounter, eliminating the hunters one by one and exposing the operation from the inside. As she closes in on the mastermind behind the hunt, Athena Stone, the woman responsible for organizing the entire event, a shocking truth emerges. Athena reveals that Crystal was personally selected because of an online post that had angered her years earlier, but Crystal insisted Athena had made a mistake. After comparing details, it becomes clear that Athena confused Crystal for another woman from the same town who has a nearly identical name. Despite the discovery, Athena refuses to back down. The two women engage in a brutal final confrontation inside Athena's luxurious manor. The fight leaves both severely wounded as they crash through the manor's kitchen and dining areas. In the end, Athena is killed, bringing the hunt to a bloody conclusion. Badly injured but alive, Crystal treats her wounds, changes into Athena's clothes, and boards Athena's private jet.
You wanted it to be real, so you decided it was.
What kind of sick people would even think of something like that?
White people. We're the worst.
Now it's time to talk horror, and today I am solo. So I want to first, before I get into analyzing this film, I want to say thank you to everyone who is supporting the podcast and continuing to listen. I have been very inconsistent. It's because I'm working on my screenplay. I've decided to make a horror short, and I am trying to organize all of that. So my cat also has cancer, and I've been taking him to chemo and a lot of other stuff. And I have OCD. When I'm writing my screenplay and I'm really focused on that, it is really hard for me to pull away. I'm super detail oriented, and I don't want to make an episode unless I'm prepared. So that's why I've kind of been fallen off a little bit, but I'm still here. And even though I might not be as consistent with the movie coming up and me preparing to film, I really, really appreciate anyone who stands by and supports everything that I'm doing, because this is definitely a passion of mine. This is not something I get paid for. There's also an elite society that preys on the vulnerable in my film as well, but it's very different. That one connection is pretty much the only connection we'll have. So let's get into this one. The Hunt is often described as a political satire, but beneath the violence and dark humor, it's really about tribalism, dehumanization, class privilege, conspiracy culture, and danger of defining people by stereotypes rather than reality. The film deliberately escalates these themes through its sequence of events, using horror and action to expose how ideological extremes can become indistinguishable from one another. My biggest point on this movie, I am a raging liberal. I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. At this point, I do not even relate to being a Democrat anymore. Will I still vote Democrat? Yeah. But I'm whatever Mom Donnie is, and I guess that is technically a democratic socialist. So whenever we get the Democratic Socialist Party, I'm all in. My biggest critique of this movie is going to be the fact that in this film, I want to strip away the Democrat-Republican scenario, because what this really is about, it's about class privilege. It's about the wealthy versus the normal person. It's about capitalism, because morality and exploitation of people has no political boundaries. It doesn't. So when it comes to this film, there's a lot of things it did right. The only thing that I think it did wrong is it should have shown that Republicans, the Republican Party that is way at the top, and the Democratic Party that's way at the top, they're working together. They are not any different. I believe that very few of them are actually good people, actually care about our interests in the grand scheme. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying the majority. I think we know by the Clintons and Trump and how these groups are intertwined, we know that there is no real separation between them. We also know that they are adamantly against the Democratic Socialist Party like Zohran Mamdani, AOC, and Bernie Sanders. We know this. When we look at the people who are really, really, really at the top, they put millions and billions of dollars into the Republican Party, not the Democratic Party. Do they put money into both? Yeah. Yeah, they do. But if we look at pure numbers, it's going to be predominantly the Republican Party. So there's a lot of things that are skewed in this movie. There are a lot of things I think they could have done better when it comes to showing the relationship between those two groups and how they actually work together at the top. And really, it's us at the bottom who are sitting here fighting each other and seeing each other as the enemy when really it's the top 1% that's our enemy. But let's get into this and I'll kind of lay these things out as we go. All right, so we're going to start with the theme of political tribalism and dehumanization. So we've got the group chat and the private jet. The film begins with wealthy elites joking in a private group chat about hunting deplorables. We all know where the phrase deplorables came from. It came from Hillary Clinton. And while I agree with her use of the term, do I think she's a good person? No. Do I think she's a badass bitch? Kind of. But she is very much a problem in a lot of ways. I'm very much aware of that. I do not make excuses for this woman. I do not back her. What starts as a joke becomes reality. And when they're kidnapping people, they view it as political enemies, which right there is the problem. Political enemies. I might not like you because you're on the other side, but are you necessarily my enemy? Not necessarily. We don't have to be enemies. Are we friends? No, not at all. Am I going to tolerate you personally? Fuck no. But do we have to be enemies? No. We can just leave each other the fuck alone. There's that option too. I literally don't give a shit what the right says about me or thinks about me. What I care about is when anyone that doesn't agree with my ideology, if you then think that you need to attack, if you think you need to make threats, that's when I'm going to have a problem with you. So otherwise, I just ignore you. You don't exist to me. You don't matter. We later get into a conversation about an ultra rare champagne on a private jet, which serves as a symbol of immense wealth, casual excess, and disconnected status. And it is a great symbol for that. Buying a bottle of champagne for $250,000 establishes the character Athena as a member of the ultra wealthy elite. Spending that amount on a consumable item highlights a tier of wealth where money is virtually meaningless. That amount of money could wipe away medical debt for hundreds of thousands of people, or go to like actually helping humanitarian causes. There's so much you could do with that money. To spend that money on one bottle of champagne, it's an abuse of power and money, in my opinion. There is a historical tie to the last emperor of Russia that connects the hunters to the old world aristocracy. They're not just buying high-end wine. They're buying historical artifacts and royal prestige. The people they choose are based on stereotypes of conservative Americans. So we directly have liberal elites at the top and conservatives at the bottom. Does this power dynamic exist? Of course it does. Of course it does. Is this how this plays out most of the time? No, not really. It's usually flipped. So let's invert this and make it a little bit more realistic. But are liberals capable of this kind of shit? Of course they are. Of course they are. We're all human. Duh. Randy wakes up before he's supposed to on the plane, and they use their status to try and calm him down before murdering him and calling him a redneck. I think that scene is important because we really see how they use they're on a private jet. Like, why would you not trust them? You woke up and you don't know where you are, but you're surrounded by wealthy elite. You're confused. You don't immediately think danger. You're looking for reassurance. You're looking for some sign that you are okay where you are. And those signs exist in that room. It seems non-threatening. But that's how they get him. That's how they get Randy, because he's like, okay, I don't understand, but, maybe I hit my head. Maybe something happened that I don't, quite get right now. And so he immediately trusts them. One thing I think is brilliant here is that evil does not look like evil. We think of these evil groups as like cartels. Basically, we see danger as what Trump would try to paint a picture of, right? So it would be a bunch of Mexicans, not a private jet. It'd be like some shitty little private plane that is crossing the border. It's a drug cartel. They all have machetes and machine guns, and they're speaking really fast in Spanish, and they're dirty. That's the image that would be invoked into our minds for us to think that there is actually danger and this group that is targeting them. But that's not what Randy wakes up to. Randy wakes up to a very nice private plane where well-dressed men and women are talking elegantly, and that catches him off guard, and that's how he's able to be easily rendered unconscious and killed. One passenger is disturbed by the guy who was killed ahead of time when Athena comes out and says war is war. So they don't see these people as people anymore. They see them as part of a larger system. That we have the dehumanization. We realize at this point that everyone on that plane is involved and aware that there are hostages on board. Then we get into the most dangerous game, the field and the weapon crate. This sequence references the classic story, The Most Dangerous Game, where human beings are hunted for sport. The elites justify the hunt by believing their targets deserve it. And then also, when the victims awaken in the field, they find a box of weapons before being massacred. They all have gags in their mouths. There's a pig in the crate that runs out dressed in a cute little outfit. The killing begins with open gunfire in the field. The first person killed on the field once the hunting game begins is the character named Yoga Pants, played by Emma Roberts. Yoga Pants' file includes a photo of her posing with a conservative politician. She was chosen because her far right-wing political background and online behavior offended the liberal elites. Then we have Trucker, who grabs an assault rifle from the crate. He yells out a battle cry and charges towards the fence line to rush the sniper's fort. He's shot in the chest, mid-run, and falls. Next, we get Dead Sexy, who runs for the woods when she falls into a pit of spikes. And this is one of the most brutal scenes. This sequence of her death is like, it's brutal and gory and fantastic. There's a guy who tries to save her, and he accidentally steps on a landmine, blowing both of them up. Another guy comes to see the aftermath when Dead Sexy tells him to shoot her. He refuses, even though she is literally split in half, and she takes his gun and calls him a snowflake, which we all know that snowflake is a term used by Trump and MAGA. Then we have a guy in a button-up shirt who gets to the fence. There are 4 of them, and arrows are being shot. The hat guy runs toward the arrows, trying to get the person shooting the arrows. Then the rest of them go to the gas station trying to find shelter. It's Manorgate. Mullet hair dies from poison. The older woman and man gas the face tattooed guy and shoot the First Amendment rights guy. Very fitting death. Then we get Snowball, and she comes into the gas station next. She wants cigarettes, and she knows that in Arkansas, they only cost $6. So they fucked up. So she kills them, and then she pulls Gary onto the train cart. They find immigrants, and he calls them crisis actors, and she is fed up with him as well. She thinks they're all fucking idiots. And I love her for this. She sees people as people. She's there to humanize every experience. So let's look at these characters really quick through the stereotypes that replace their identity. Many of the characters, they're never given real names. That's on purpose. We can dehumanize by just calling someone by characteristic, by stating what they are, not who they are. Crystal May Creasy, Snowball, she was picked by mistake. The mastermind, Athena, meant to kidnap a different woman from the same hometown named Crystal Creasy, who ran a hostile anti-liberal blog. Instead, they accidentally grabbed this crystal, a disaffected, highly trained ex-military veteran who has no online footprint, and she's a badass. Then we get Moses, Staten Island. He ran a popular podcast where he loudly pushed the Manorgate conspiracy theory and accused the elites of trafficking humans. Little did he know, he was creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then we have Gary, a loud right-wing podcaster and conspiracy theorist who used his platform to expose the liberal elites and stoke political rage. There are quite a few of those out there. Do I think they should be hunted? No, but I get why they chose them. Then Yoga Pants, Chloe. She's an online influencer who frequently posts aggressive, politically charged rants, attacking liberals and defending conservative cultural wars. There are more than a few of those online. Then we've got Trucker, who is Shane, an internet troll who posts numerous hateful comments and threats aimed directly at the elite under various social media threads. This is our troll. I mean, I hate this person. I really, truly hate this person. Do I think they should be hunted in the woods? In Croatia? No. But do I hate them? Yeah. Then we've got Caroline, dead sexy, frequently shared Manorgate memes and posted graphic allegations accusing Athena's specific group of friends of being evil globalists. She's our conspiracy theorist. She's pretty harmless. We know her. She's probably in our group chat. She's our cousin. She's our sister. She doesn't deserve to be here, but she can't keep her damn mouth shut. Then we've got Boxer, also known as Target, an internet commentator who repeatedly calls the liberal elites traitors and actively egged on the boycotts to get them fired. For him, there is a very clear motive. He got them fired, cause and effect. Molly, Big Red, a vocal activist who organizes real-world political protests and counter rallies targeting the corporations owned by the hunters. Yeah. That's another box to be checked. Vanilla Ice. Oh, Vanilla Ice. He is a damn embarrassment in real life. But this Vanilla Ice, I mean, he's an embarrassment too. He's an online conspiracy theorist who posts unverified leaks and fabrications detailing the layouts of alleged hunting grounds. Another self-fulfilled prophecy. Then we have Bandana Man, a gun rights enthusiast who posts highly combative, threatening videos directed towards left-leaning politicians and media figures. Honestly, Bandana Man, you asked for it. You asked for it. You're threatening people. You're on there saying things like you should have been arrested a long time ago. He should never be, like, these people shouldn't be allowed on the left or right. You shouldn't be allowed to threaten people. He got what he asked for. Then we have Randy, a forum moderator who actively pinned and promoted the original leaked group chat threads, ensuring it went viral across the internet. Honestly, I respect him for that. Randy knew how to expose. Actually, you could learn a thing or two from Randy. Hopefully, you just don't end up in a field being hunted. Then there's Dawn, the ultimate deception. Though placed in the field with the other 11 targets to look like a victim, Dawn is later revealed to be an undercover plant working alongside the elite hunters to manipulate and spy on the true targets. You always need an insider to be watching, especially there's no surveillance state just yet there. They don't have the flock cameras everywhere yet. So with all of this, modern political disclosure is reduced people to caricatures. The labels are important because both sides in the film do this. Liberals stereotype conservatives, conservatives stereotype liberals. This theme mirrors online culture where people become categories instead of individuals. This is where I think this film is important, whether you agree with the message or not. I don't think there is a message to agree with. I think it's something to think about. So Manorgate, the conspiracy theories and internet culture. Let's get into just what that is. The victims discuss Manorgate, an internet conspiracy theory claiming elites hunt ordinary people. And then Athena is like, it's not a manor, it's a 3-bedroom house that she rents and decorated. That's just like the elite to disregard everything that is being claimed on a technicality, to deflect, to lie, to, whether or not it was true. The automatic defensiveness, unwilling to bend on whatever you're saying or clarify yourself, thinking you're above it all. And then the dismissal and arrogance of just being like, oh, well, it's not even a manor. Like, that's why you die. That's why she is eliminated and she is the big bad. Ironically, the conspiracy turns out to be true, but only because the elites decide to make it true after being mocked online. That's not too far-fetched, quite honestly. So in this, the conspiracies create the realities they predict, the whole manifest destiny thing. So this reminds me of Pizzagate and all the theories about celebrities. And honestly, with the wealthy elite, a lot of stuff has come out and been confirmed when it came to Epstein Island and when it came to P. Diddy's white parties or freak offs. A lot of this has been confirmed. There can be a monicum of truth to these things. I think the biggest trend we see is with wealth. We see exploitation. We see the misuse of power. We see the main thread throughout this, that it's going to be power and control and the misuse of that. So next, let's get into class privilege versus working class survival. If you ask me, this is our main divide. And it would be really great if we got on the same page and people stop trying to villainize others and just let others be who they want to be. Crystal's investigation. While most victims panic, Crystal notices details others miss. At the gas station, she realizes the cigarette prices are wrong. She notices fake license plates. She observes inconsistencies in people's stories. Meanwhile, the elites rely on expensive resources, technology, and elaborate planning. Basically, they're using AI and she's using her brain. In this, we have competence over status. Crystal survives because she understands reality and sees through the ideology. She sees through the stereotypes. She is our humanizing factor. The wealthy hunters believe their money and intelligence make them superior. Crystal repeatedly proves otherwise. She sees that the elites want to make themselves look or feel untouchable. She knows that's not true. They're human too. They bleed too. So next we get the failure of ideological purity. Every hunter is ridiculous. As Crystal encounters more hunters, the film reveals they're not masterminds. They are insecure, petty, and obsessed with proving they are morally correct. The movie satirizes both left-wing and right-wing extremes rather than presenting either as heroes. In this, we get extremism eventually becomes self-parody. Everyone's so focused on winning political arguments that they lose sight of reality. I don't think that that's far-fetched, and I think in the large scheme of things, there is a state where we don't have to agree, but we do have to respect each other. And respect each other in a way that I leave you alone, you leave me alone. And that means you don't try to take away my rights. That means you don't try to control my body. That means you cannot have hate crimes against me. That means a lot of things that are not happening right now for mostly the right wing trying to destroy lives. LGBTQ plus lives, women's lives, trans lives, immigrants' lives. That's where the problem really lies, is when you are fucking with people's lives. Then I can't just stand by and say, oh, it's just a difference of opinion. It's not. Crystal is the outsider. The refugee train is a crucial scene, and it sets Crystal apart from everyone else. Crystal repeatedly refuses to participate in ideological arguments. Others discuss conspiracy, politics, and culture wars, But Crystal focuses on survival. This separates her from everyone else. The film's true hero is someone who refuses tribal identity. And I will say that the extremist, far, far left liberals, in a lot of ways, some of it is tribalism still. There's always going to be that. But I think at the core, it's trying to refuse those tribal identities and say, hey, this is right, this is wrong. I think that's what's at the core of the democratic socialist movement. That's my personal view. That's from my personal observations. You can disagree with me. That's fine. But her observations and her refusal to play into either of these narratives, that is what makes her our hero. Unlike nearly every other character, Crystal isn't motivated by political affiliations. She's motivated by facts. Facts. That's what we really need to be motivated by, people. Athena's biggest fuck up is mistaken identity. We really need to be researching and making sure that we think that person is exactly who they are before we make a judgment. The film's most important twist arrives when Athena reveals why Crystal was chosen. Athena discovers she kidnapped the wrong woman, showcasing how the entire conflict is based on assumptions about one another. Again, that's why we have Crystal. We have our facts person. She's like, nah, that's not me. You got me wrong. You got me fucked up. And this is the film's central message. Athena spent years hating someone she never actually knew. The mistake symbolizes how political enemies are often imaginary versions of real people. There is a really important symbolism within this story. Crystal has a story about the jackrabbit and the box turtle. I know this story as the tortoise and the hare. And she talks about this earlier in the film. Crystal tells a story about a jackrabbit and a box turtle. And the story seems random until the finale. The jackrabbit loses because he underestimates his opponent. Arrogance creates defeat. Athena believed she was smarter than Crystal. She makes the same mistake as the jackrabbit. We have our final fight. Crystal versus Athena. The climax abandons politics and becomes deeply personal. Athena is obsessed with proving she was justified. She just wants to win and she just wants revenge. Crystal simply wants to survive. Their brutal fight ends with Athena's death, showing how ideological obsession destroys itself. Athena represents someone who has completely surrendered to outrage and identity, while Crystal represents reality, and reality wins. In the end, Crystal leaves on Athena's jet. After surviving, Crystal takes Athena's clothes, boards the private jet, and enjoys the luxury Athena once possessed. The ending doesn't celebrate wealth or politics. Instead, it suggests that the people who obsess over status, class, and ideology are often defeated by someone who simply understands the world better than they do. In the end, wealth and political ideologies can all be destroyed. What lasts is people and human connection. And when Crystal boards that plane, she sees the flight attendant as a person. She treats that flight attendant differently than anyone else that entered that jet. And she offers the same kindness she would to herself, showing that really doesn't matter the price of the champagne. It doesn't matter private jet. Doesn't even matter the clothes. It's the human connection that matters. The hunt progresses through 4 major themes throughout this film. So the first one is that people reduce opponents to stereotypes. Then those stereotypes justify cruelty and dehumanization. Then political and online rage create self-fulfilling conflicts. And we end with reality ultimately matters more than ideology. The human experience ultimately matters more than anything else. And I think that about covers that. Let's end on a high note.
What was that?
I think that was a rifle.
That almost hit me.
Weekly horror update. Evil Burn is in theaters right now, and I'm hearing about how people are cringing at certain scenes. It's very brutal, very gory. Not hearing too much about whether the storyline is great or not, but it's definitely making people squirm. So that's something to look forward to. I love the Evil Dead franchise. It's one of my favorite franchises. I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. I'll probably see it later today. Backrooms has an Everything Must Go edition that was released on July 3rd. There's another film, Night Nurse. It had a limited theatrical release on July 10th. Her Private Hell is coming to theaters July 24th. Pinocchio Unstrung is also going to be releasing in theaters July 24th. This one actually looks really funny. I have high hopes for this one. It's not going to be a great movie, but an evil Pinocchio that wants to be a real boy, come on. That is a horror story. That is horror. It's going to be a fun watch, if anything else. The Devil's Mouth is premiering on Amazon Prime Video on July 29th. That one is 5 friends sign up for a guided swim through a remote cave system along Thailand's stunning coast, but their quest for fun and adventure soon turns into a desperate fight for survival as the bloodthirsty shark starts to pick them off one by one. So another shark movie. We're getting a lot of shark movies these past 2 years. So that is all for the rest of this month that I can see. If you're not already following me, please go follow me on my social medias. I am getting ready to make my horror short, which is really a proof of concept. My film is The Blood of Aphrodite. I'm very excited. I've been working on this for over a year now, and I really think that all my hard work is going to be paying off. I have $30,000 set aside for this. I know already that I'm going to need more money. It's already becoming an issue because I'm talking to talent. I'm getting my DP, director of photography. There are a lot of moving parts to this. My costume is being made for my killer. There's a lot of stuff. And to do this right, it costs money, lots of money. And I have a very important message that I'm trying to send. So I'm trying to do it as professionally as I possibly can. I have a website for it that's going to be rolling out later on, probably within this week. I'm just waiting on my key art and my costume design for my killer to be finished by artists. I have a lot of stuff that I'm working on, and that's why this episode is coming out late. But I was able to take a break, and I'm like, you know what? I really want to record an episode. I want to talk about this movie. I did the research. I want to talk about it. So that's why I'm doing this. This is a semi-weekly podcast with a new episode out every maybe Friday. All the research, writing, and audio is done by yours truly. This is a one-woman show, and I am doing my very best. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. You can find me on Instagram at Scream Queen Podcaster, Blue Sky at Scream Queen Podcast, TikTok at Scream Queen Podcast, and there's a link tree that will take you to my YouTube and Facebook page as well. Remember, when we reduce each other to stereotypes and dehumanize one another, we all lose. Until next time, goodbye.
Hehehehe